So, who is my neighbor? Jesus says, doesn't make any difference who he is. Romans chapter 13, verse 10 says, love does no wrong to a neighbor. Meaning, really, your neighbor is anyone that you come across during the course of everyday life. I may have told some of you about this before, but at one church that I served, there was a man that always made sure that he ran into me at the post office, especially around the holidays. He also always made sure that he shook my hand, which was a little interesting to me since we knew each other well and saw each other often. But whenever that happened, there was always something placed in my hand. And I always felt kind of funny about that, almost embarrassed. So every time it happened at the end of the year like that, I put it in my pocket and never looked at it until I got home for the evening, usually, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. And when I looked at what he would put in my hand, it was the same thing every single time. 10 fresh, unblemished $100 bills, along with a teeny tiny little note that said, Martin, use this money for people who need it and for whom you can't get any other help. Well, of course, there are lots of those. And usually I would tell him, I'll tell you what I do with it. And one time I thought right away of an emancipated minor that I knew, meaning a young person who was not of legal age but living on their own. This young lady was putting herself through nursing school. And I thought, by gosh, I'm gonna get a hold of her and I'm gonna give her $200. She cried when I did that. And so, I passed that along to her benefactor. But I noticed that every single time I tried to get a hold of this generous man to tell him what happened to the money, because sometimes it would take a few weeks, whatever, and I talked to some other people too, usually, for help. But whenever I tried to tell him what I did with the money, mainly he was disinterested. It just was not important to him. He seemed to be living out what Jesus wants to whisper to each one of us. It doesn't make any difference who your neighbor is. What matters is who you are, what kind of a neighbor you are. And whenever I think of what Grace to Go looks like, I think of that gentleman. The exciting thing is that could be you, it could be me. Any of us could do that or something like it. And it would look like Grace to Go.